So we are live. Welcome to another DASA membership series. And today we're going to be talking about how to identify the key revenue streams of tomorrow, focused on DevOps coaching and how DevOps coaching can help with training companies and culture and teams to focus on what matters. So, hang on a minute. Sorry about this. My name is Katrina and I'm your host today, and I'm going to be moderating the conversation with our guests, who I will introduce in a moment. Just to quickly run through the agenda, I'm going to be introducing the webinar series and then bringing in the speakers. And then we'll be talking about the key themes today. And there will be time for a Q&A at the end. So please leave your questions in the chat so I can pick those up at the end and we can bring them into the conversation. This is being recorded, just so you know. Moving on to the next slide. DASA is the world's largest DevOps and Agile association, fostering dialogue, debate, and collaboration amongst leading industry professionals and organizations. With a network of 300 plus partner organizations, DASA helps define, inform, and advance the DevOps industry through networking, information sharing, awards, lifelong learning, and certification. It was founded in 2016, has over 300 plus partners in 48 countries, with thousands of professionals as part of the community. So this Spotlight series is about bringing industry bodies and community platforms such as DASA to offer guidance and advice based on co-creation and shared experiences. For every challenge you may have, other organizations and leaders have faced these and other challenges in their transformations and have come up with effective approaches and solutions. So we want to invite you to join the DASA community as we discuss complex but relevant topics and tap into the collective intelligence and experiences of others from around the globe and exchange ideas and practical guidance. And today, joining us to talk about how to focus on revenue streams with the help of DevOps coaching, we have Marian Draganov, who is basically a transformation consultant, coach and facilitator with a deep passion for building people-centric teams and organizations. And his mission is to guide and enable people to thrive in a collaborative, self-organized environment so that they continuously deliver value added to their customers. And Marian is currently based at Silverstorm. So welcome, Marian. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Katrina. Pleasure to be here. Good afternoon, everyone.
Looking forward to hearing from you. And also with us today is Helen Parker, who is DASA Membership Director. And Helen is responsible for designing and implementing the DASA membership growth and retention strategy that aligns with DASA's mission, mandate, and strategic objectives. And Helen has 20 years of international business development experience and over 12 years working with associations. So welcome, Helen.
Thanks, Katrina. Happy to be back again this time.
Yes, yeah. We do these series on a monthly basis. So we will be, please keep an eye out for our next series coming up in April, at the end of April. But today we're going to be talking about topics related to revenue streams, on how to generate new leads and opportunities, how to quickly upskill your team of experts, and how to turn earmarked experts of your team into thought leaders. So let's talk about Silverstorm. And how Silverstorm helps companies with generating revenue, and what's your objective as a company?
All right, sure. Let's kick it off with that. Well, with more than 20 years of experience implementing projects and solutions around digital transformation, we aim to be a trusted advisor for our customers. And our approach is to focus on the specific challenges our customers solve, or aim to solve, and help them in a very pragmatic, hands-on approach, with bringing in the balance mix between the right technology partners and also a handful of consulting services around strategy, resilience, agility, and operational excellence.
Okay, great. So, what makes a company more competitive when thinking about digital transformation?
Well, I'm going to do a spoiler here and make a bold statement. It's not technology what makes it more competitive. I strongly believe it's about putting the employees and customer at the center and do your best to not only improve their experience, but also overachieve the expectations, right? Navigate them to the right set of technology platform solutions, find scalability in your operations, support the digital acceleration of the business. And from my experience from Silverstorm, what helped our customers be more competitive so far is introducing business agility along with technology, which would lead to higher efficiency, better collaboration, and a critical aspect from my experience is also make our customer virtual offices a great place to work. This focusing on the aspect of attracting the right talent.
Mm-hmm. So it's really focusing on the culture and the people.
That's right.
Which we'll talk about in more detail in a minute. So Helen, how does this, in terms of how does this line of thinking apply to service providers as well as enterprises? You're on mute.
Of course I am. Digital transformation results in fundamental changes to how a business operates and how to deliver value to the customers. So mastering that journey allows you to innovate faster, deliver more value, be more competitive, and it includes creating new or perhaps even modifying some of the old business processes and customer experience and culture to ensure an organisation remains relevant. So this is relevant to everyone, whether you're an enterprise, software developer, service provider, it doesn't matter. A successful business is the ones that are adaptable, they're versatile, and rely on multiple revenue streams to turn profits. And, I think we all saw in the last couple of years during the pandemic just how important that adaptability was. Look, Marion's flagged it in this discussion already, and it's the same approach. It's about putting your employees and customers at the center to do your best to improve and to over-deliver on experience, to find scalability in the operations to support the digital acceleration of business, acknowledging that digital growth and transformation is not just about that technical expertise, but is really truly understanding the human factor, and as well as making the relevant changes that are needed. So by addressing the transformation needs internally first, it allows you then to become more competitive and in turn have the ability to create more impact for your clients. So the ability to assess what helps them make it, what makes them more competitive, and really break it down and help assess it. Is your client digitally ready? What are their skills gaps? Is there any resistance to change? If so, how can you help them overcome the challenges? And what touch points can you help them with and be relevant at? So being able to help your client at every step of the way offers more opportunities, a stronger offer, and of course, a variation in revenue streams.
Mm-hmm. So this is where Silverstorm comes in to help. So Marion, let's focus on, revenue streams. How does DevOps transformation generate new streams for the business?
Absolutely. Well, in the end, this is what this webinar is about, right? Let's go to the point. New revenue streams. Well, let me start with the classic revenue streams, and maybe later on we can go on and move to new ones, right? So the classic three for me are consulting, coaching, and training. So consulting is about linking companies' why with a what, right? So what are we going to do? Kick off the transformation by a maturity assessment, digital readiness, maybe an organizational framework, and also thinking of what would you like to implement in terms of DevOps aspect, tool chain being a classic one, but by far not the only one. Then the next one would be, of course, coaching. So meaning to guide your team and the critical roles, which are also to be established, right? Like a product owner, scrum master, team leads, executives through that difficult transition. So later on, as you mentioned, Katrina, we'll touch the topic about culture. And last but not least, the part of training. So find the right trainings for every profile, be it engineer, be it manager, the right content, a healthy mix of technology, cultural change, organizational issues, and so on. And from my experience, this can work quite well. It applies to enterprises, but there might be the danger of that you enter as a supplier if you're a service provider and are not seen as a trusted advisor. So we'll touch upon some other ideas later on.
Mm-hmm. So when it comes to training, obviously, it's very much role-based learning, which is what you're focused on now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that's right.
and obviously, coaching has become such a big thing in the last, sort of however long. I mean, how many years has coaching come into play, would you say?
Well, coaching itself is not a new topic, right? It's been there for decades. But I think Agile and DevOps coaching are so Agile coaching is maybe 10, 15 years old, and then now DevOps is coming as the next step, right? So bringing the knowledge, the skills, the culture to the next level, apart from the Agile fundamentals.
Mm-hmm. But it's also important to obviously have, a service provider come in and see where the problems lie, or where the focus needs to be.
Well, absolutely. You need this initial kickoff, right? You need initial the starting point, the boiling momentum, and for sure a service provider will help a lot there.
Mm-hmm. And so, what are the the key revenue streams of tomorrow in digital transformation, Marion?
Well, we've touched with you, Helen, on the first part. My spoiler of the day: technology is not a differentiator, right? It does not make you unique. It's widely accessible. I've seen vendors and implementation partners entering and implementing technology in a few weeks, and then nothing happens, right? It's new technology, but the same culture and the same people. And someone forgot them along the way. So I think people and culture related is a topic growing, a mega trend that's now starting, especially with COVID, with more and more talk about remote work, finding the right work-life balance, and so on, focusing on resilience, well-being. All this connects very well with Agile coaching, with DevOps practices, with focus what's valuable, what's non-valuable. So the popular lean concept of thinking about waste, right? And some other complementary practices. So I'm becoming a big fan of site reliability engineering. This grows together with DevOps. They work very well together.
Can you explain about that?
Sure. It's a practices of set of practices established and developed by Google, and it basically focuses on how to run operations from a software engineering point of view. So it focuses basically on the promise of service delivery to the customers in the right quality. Again, practices linked to lean, practices borrowed from DevOps. So that's a large chunk, right? If key revenue streams of tomorrow. Then once we have a few teams working in that mode, the topic about scaling comes in. So organizational concepts, scale frameworks, beautiful books I like, Humanocracy and Management 3.0. So that's another topic I'm looking into it. And to round it up, the third one, so right, I strongly believe agile and DevOps culture, mindset, practices should go outside of IT. This is not just about development. It's not just about operations. I have the pleasure to work with two non-IT teams now in Silverstorm as Scrum Master and Agile Coach. And we already see some quick wins and good practices being established.
So when you talk about scaling up, what are the challenges that you see which are common, sort of challenges during the scalability?
I'm trying to think of top 3 or top 5. It's a long list.
Give a couple of examples.
Absolutely. Well, the first point is it's a journey, right? So the first point would be to see it as a project with program. We're going to do a transformation for 6 months, and by the end of Q3, Q4, or whatever, we're going to have it done and everything. It's going to be a green or pink, depends on the KPI you've set. So that's the first challenge when scaling. The second one is a lack of management buy-in, right? So especially in initiatives that start bottom up, if the management doesn't understand the why, doesn't have the buy-in, that's not going to work. And then I'll use my cheat sheet. Technology is not the main focus here, right? So when scaling, it's comfortable to focus on integration, on whatever the hip technology is today, whatever the trend is, cloud, low code, no code, etc. For me, that's not a decisive factor, and that's very, very often a thing.
Okay, and with coaching teams inside the company, how does it create sort of new revenues and opportunities?
Sorry, I didn't get that. Say again.
When you have coaching teams within companies, how do you create new revenue streams and opportunities? How does coaching come into play?
Yeah. Well, we always do our best to be a trusted partner of the organization, right? And it's about what I've mentioned just a minute ago. It's about a journey of achieving the business outcomes, delivering what we've promised to the business, and that should make them competitive, right? This is what Silverstorm is about. We focus so that our customers stay competitive. And I've brought up a few examples from recent market studies, what could be successful new revenue streams. So what we can focus on is higher customer satisfaction ratings, up to 30%, boost in employee engagement. And I remember here a quote from my mentor in my coaching course two years ago, Dimitri. I'm saying hi to you if you're watching. Happy employees means happy customers, right? That's about it. And then this directly links to increase in speed to revenue. So DevOps means bringing faster features to the market. So we can expect up to 55% of acceleration in time to market. All this is this revenue streams, these opportunities that are generating when we coach.
Great. So, Helen, coming to you, having heard from Marion, how do service providers, how are they helping build revenue streams, and what are the conversations you're having around generating revenue with service providers?
Yeah, look, the diversity of services correlate into the diversity of revenue streams. So in turn, that diversification provides financial stability for the organisation. It reduces business risk. It makes business infinitely more marketable, so it's attractive. It allows a company to diversify and strengthen their offer in order to remain relevant, despite the hectic pace of change. It's extraordinary these days how much a business has to change in order to remain relevant and to be competitive. So one of the key areas of discussion at the moment contains is really about certain gaps and challenges that's out there in the market. So we all know DevOps is difficult. And so whilst many organisations focus on the technology side, the people readiness side, the talent management, the culture trends, etc., all tend to remain as a major obstacle for many of the enterprises. Marion's just already touched on that. So these obstacles open up into or equate into opportunities for consultants or service providers to help organisations even further in their transformation. So, for example, a number of enterprises who I've been speaking to recently are in the early stages of the transformation and are often unsure where to start. Look, we all like it. Whenever you need to transform, it can be so overwhelming of where do you even start? So how do they gain the buy-in from their management and their staff and their teams? What are the logical next steps? What is the strategic direction they should take? And that question has popped up time and time again with enterprises. So that equals a huge opportunity for the service providers and consultants out there on how to help prepare teams or organisations in that transformation from the start. How can you help a singular person sometimes within a team to have that discussion internally with the broader management team to say, yes, we see the relevance of making IT at the core of the business, and these are the steps we need to take. Then what is the reality in that transformation for these teams? How can you help upskill people to ensure they're ready for that strategic requirements in the next few years? Companies are looking at how they can help their clients in a new way. Again, sorry, Marion, I don't really want to take whatever you say, but it's about that. It's about the digital readiness. It's those strategic steps required to take the journey. It's the competency framework and the skill gaps. Do you have the team to make the changes? Do you need training? Do you need further coaching? And it's adding an extra layer to this. And it's quite common also to see consultants at the moment upskilling and next skilling their own teams to ensure they have the staff in place to make those changes with their clients. It's all becoming incredibly important. So companies, long story short, I've waffled, apologies, but you can see a trend in companies investing in training and coaching for themselves. And that is then ensuring, that there's coaches in-house to help their clients at every step of their journey, that they diversify the training they need to help their staff reach their strategic needs, and then participating in leadership type programs to help every step of that way. So I see a lot of companies looking at also creating their own academies. This is where companies are creating their own training academies so they can offer it to their clients. So training on relevant subjects to the transformation and meeting those staffing needs. Sorry, I did.
So that was great. That was great. That's another resource, the Talent Academy.
Yeah.
And the problem is, another question. I'm just going to jump in, but Eliza just came in with a question. We're talking about resources and upskilling and reskilling. With remote work and the Great Resignation combined, a lot of organizations, saw a resource crunch. How did give an example of how do you manage that, or how do companies manage that? Marion.
Sure. I'm laughing because I remembered a comment by a colleague exactly 2 years ago, March 2020. The lockdown has just started, and he reached out to me and asked me, now with COVID, are we still doing this agile transformation? It was not a hobby. It was a thing. And we moved on with the agile transformation. And I remember what we did back then. And that was that is the answer of how we managed it. To offer the psychological safety and stability of the employees, to organize their work even remotely, provide them in the short term also with the right tools. So from one day to the other, we figured, we need more monitors, cameras, microphones, chairs, and so on. And then in the mid to long term, we've learned to change the culture, to have more trust into each other, to let go of certain practices that are not able to be performed anymore in a remote working team, and also focus on what's the value, what's prioritized.
So in short, the value stream is basically what you should focus on to create the revenue stream.
Yes, that's right.
Okay,
Absolutely.
good. So let's talk about culture and coaching. Go more in depth. Marion, what are the challenges that enterprises face when they are focused on revenue versus building the right teams?
All right. Well, if we think about the right culture, be it an agile DevOps or what is very trendy now, startup culture applied for large enterprises, we aim for giving more power and autonomy to the teams so they can work as a kind of independent unit within the company premises, rules and policies. So there is the first challenge. They need to figure out their modus operandi and build the skills to operate in this empowered, autonomous way, also to be cross-functional, while in parallel, they have their business as usual, right? So we don't hit the pause and say, okay, now we have the duration of a program to figure out. In parallel, we expect them to, what was part of your question, right? A focus on revenue. So this is the main challenge for me here. What I've seen, find a balance between delivering the revenue, high performance, and adopting the change. And in terms of focus on revenue and high performance, we see the usual challenges: delivering a working product in a fast life cycle, considering the customer requests, the customer functionalities required, considering quality. And on the other side, we have the huge change of acquiring new skills, building a new ecosystem on enterprise level, cope with resistance on team level, or even on an executive level, adopt the right mindset and practices, and in the end also adjust the company culture to be the home of this new mindset.
Okay, So this is where the DevOps coach, comes into play also in terms of focusing on the culture. Why is it so important to invest in coaching?
Well, let me split that. So first, the role. I don't think it's one role, right? A good coach doesn't have just the coaching role. I would see at least 4 main roles. So coaching, of course, then mentoring, facilitating, consulting, and the course we had 2 years ago, we focused extensively on being able to switch between these roles in a fast way, to quickly identify the right situation, act accordingly. And on top of that, there are the kind of more abstract roles, right? So I've seen today a colleague calling himself a rule breaker, so challenger of status quo, a Sherpa, a guide. So, right, these are a few of the roles a DevOps coach needs to perform successfully. And then on the second part is, why is it important to invest in coaching? Well, we've mentioned the high-performing teams we aim to create, right? We want to have the progress ensured on the products and projects. So it's about predictability. It's about adaptability to the evolving customer demands, to what I've mentioned in a few sentences ago, overachieving the expectations so we ensure the customer loyalty, the customer satisfaction. And very important, to spread the sense of ownership about growth, about valuable product, from the classic management structures to the product owners, and in the end also to the team members.
Mm-hmm. So, in terms of some of the challenges that we face with team members, for example, Eliza's asking, how does a coach make sure that autonomous teams don't turn into silos?
Well, various ideas, right? So the classic one is to coach the two roles responsible for interaction with the stakeholders, so the product owner and the Scrum Master, to interact in the right way with the other teams where they have dependencies. And this leads me to the second point. The less dependencies we have on technical level, from my experience, the better. So the part of being autonomous is also helping not having these silos as we remove the dependencies. And then it's also about scaling. So at some point, the coaching of product owners and Scrum Master is not enough. We have to think of a bit more official process to have these alignments, to break the silos. So here, one practice I've done in the past is the classic product increment planning. So bringing the product owners together, making sure that they clarify their dependencies and work towards common goals, which are also aligned with the management.
Mm-hmm. And these are just some of the challenges. I mean, are there other, you obviously see other challenges, which impact revenue streams?
More challenges about that impact the revenue streams. A good one. Well, the looking back into the topic about change, right? It's about culture change. So culture change is hard. It's not easy, and people do want improvements in their daily life. Very few people are actually ready to change, right? So this is one point.
Mindset, yeah.
Mindset, exactly. Mindset. Then it's about what I've mentioned before. Technology change is not the hard part. So back on culture, back on facilitating how we collaborate, how we communicate, and also keeping up the momentum. So keeping up the change alive.
Mm-hmm. And we talk about teams and challenges. How does, for example, it's very important to focus not only on the teams but also on the leaders in companies. On sort of, how does DevOps coaches assist leaders of companies to focus on company culture and build the right teams?
Yeah. I've had the pleasure to work with very good leaders who are the partner and then also sparring partner of the coaches. So from what I've seen, the leaders should focus, and that's typically their accountability on the business outcome. So deliver what's promised to the business, and they have a driving role for the change, right? Whereas the coach is the enabler and the catalyst for building the right teams, enabling the delivery of relevant business outcomes. So there we have more focus on the how, right? So way of working, methodology, processes, capabilities. And these two roles should be partners, so that there should be no conflict, or if there is a friction, it should be constructive one, healthy, challenging each other. In order to start successfully the DevOps movement, right? And and that point, the coach can help a lot with the management buy-in. Should be able to translate the DevOps values into a tangible business case, into tangible benefits, and also create the awareness. So in the beginning, it helps a lot. Creating awareness sessions for the leaders as well, and then started the conversation going at the working level. So very tangible quick wins, very tangible first steps, translating this high level principles, values, and strategy outcomes we're talking about into detailed everyday techniques, methods, and so on. And I think a common ground here and a key for this successful transformation is that leaders and coaches find common ground on the underlying why. So agree on reasons to do that, agree on principles, and also speak up if the reasons are not good enough, right? So again, healthy challenge each other.
So, and also focusing on the company's North Star, so that everybody, has that in mind whilst they're, creating or, building the business, basically. Everybody, is on the same page. And we're talking about culture here. Helen, what have your conversations with clients been about, in terms of creating the right company culture? And, why is it the core of the company?
Well, we actually touched on this last month with Leah from Racket, and it's a really popular subject. It's so important because it creates the environment in the organisation. So it influences the nature of how an organisation works towards its mission, how it works towards its goals and objectives, and how it also can dictate the policies and processes to enable the organisation to become the essence of its mission. So now, if you actually reflect on DevOps culture, there's a couple of great articles on that by Atlassian and also on the DASA website by Rajat Tiwari on challenges of driving a DevOps culture. So a DevOps culture helps align people, processes and tools towards a more unified customer focus. It then fosters that level of trust and collaboration that you need and results in higher quality decision making and even higher level of job satisfaction. So incredibly important for any organisation. And at the heart of the DevOps culture is the increased transparency, communication, collaboration, all those lovely words we've thrown around today already, between teams that traditionally worked in silos. And we've all worked for an organisation at some stage who worked in silos, and we all know how difficult it is to make any key changes when working in that environment. But there are important culture shifts that need to happen to bring these teams closer together. And DevOps is that organisational cultural shift that emphasizes continuous learning, continuous improvement, increased team autonomy, fast feedback, high empathy and trust, and cross-team collaboration. So if an organisation's current culture conflicts with this, then a change is needed to make. But however, a culture of any organisation takes time to become cemented and takes even longer to be changed. It's incredibly hard.
I can imagine. And, so why do you think that coaching is so interesting for service providers, Helen?
Look, personally, I think coaching is fantastic. I've got a lot of friends out there who are coaches and they pay me to say that. No, it's an incredible, powerful tool for any organisation. If we look at the different experiences people have had, it helps facilitate the cultural changes. Yeah, it helps focus on what the client's wants and needs. Many companies, or not companies, but many people aren't clear on what they want and need. Helps to create new sessions and services. It helps creates new strategies, helps create new offers and services and strengthening existing ones. Helps leverage talents and resources in a new way. Helps to create new learning products and methods. The list goes on. A trained coach or mentor can bring in-depth understanding of cultural drivers, working with leaders in building new thought processes. They're brilliant catalysts to facilitate change. And it's a powerful tool for any organisation to have. But if we reflect on today's topics, it can help strengthen your offer as a consultancy firm, for example. It can help enterprises make the changes they need. I've talked to a couple of service providers lately who believe they have a strong tech consultancy offer, but would like to strengthen their people readiness, talent management, cultural transformation capabilities, and coaching is helping them to do that. So it's this sort of diversity that not only strengthens the portfolios, but also brings a new range of approaches for clients. And it turns their clients, it allows everyone to push that boundaries of innovation.
Yeah, because it's not always easy for the company to see when they're actually running the business, So
no, that's right. There's a reason why coaching across the board, even from personal trainers physically to life coaches, coaching is a very powerful force at the moment across the board in all industries.
No, definitely. And Marion, you recently underwent a DevOps coaching course. What were your biggest sort of takeaways, and how useful has it been for your business and with training your customers?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me first share my why for the course, right? What was the reason? So the situation I was in a team responsible for the Agile / DevOps transformation for an international department, roughly 280, 300 employees. And I'm saying Agile and DevOps because we started first with building the Agile basics, the fundamentals, and then moved to DevOps. During that journey, we knew all our IT strategy that was there. We knew our objectives. We had the roadmap, and we also knew all our operational issues. So what are the challenges in our day-to-day? We knew our technology, what we're deploying, what our customer would want, right? But we lacked the bridge between the two, right? And in my role as a product owner, I wanted to understand the complete picture, right? The different dimensions. So thinking about processes, structure, technology, people, linked to structure, organization, right? Linked to technology, automation of the DevOps transformation. So I'm able to introduce these, combine them in a healthy ways, switch priorities. So what comes after what part? And once we've established the Agile fundamentals, it was time for us to level up. And this is where I decided to underwent the DevOps coaching course. very useful. Let me share my key takeaways with you. I figured out the dimension of coaching, which I mentioned before that. So performance versus change. And that helped me a lot to switch on the what and how side. So on one side, we had a team of a very dear colleague of mine responsible for the what. So that was the strategy. And on the other side, it was us responsible for the how. So agile and DevOps methods, innovation, way of working. It helped me also switching the roles, which I've mentioned before, right? So consultant, mentor, coach, facilitator. And maybe the most valuable lesson is thanks to my trainers, that was Dimitri and Daryl. I received personalized feedback on my real life pain points. So we had a time slot to explain our detailed case from our real life experience. And I received very concrete next steps on how to approach this journey.
Okay. Well, it's always good to receive valid feedback.
Absolutely.
And just a question from Eliza again. Marion, as a DASA DevOps leader, who initiates digital transformations, and what were your key takeaways which you applied to your work on a daily basis?
My biggest takeaways are to think about the dimension of culture, and consider the people, consider where they come from. Also, on a very practical level, what is the profile I'm talking with? What could be their role apart from the official title they have? And what organization I'm moving in when I'm with customers? What processes I am tackling? So basically going to the same dimensions we apply into a digital transformation on a day-to-day basis with my customers.
Okay, good. So yeah, it is important to think about where people are coming from and how you treat them. Yeah. And Helen, how have you seen coaching help with high performance teams?
Look, when it's done right and strategically, it's a way for businesses to build a broader organisational capability, and ultimately drive high performance and strategic behaviour across large groups of people. So if you want your organisation to be more client focused, or want your leadership team to lead more effectively, coaching can help with both. It's helped organisations through some of the toughest strategic challenges, like during transformation change, while embedding formal learning from employees across an organisation, during business growth and restructuring, when developing high potential talent. It helps build broader strategic and business skills amongst individuals and teams, and improve their ability to collaborate across different divisions across the organisation, which is probably even more important to get all that buy-in that you need. So it helps overcome costly, time-consuming performance problems. It strengthens skills, raises productivity. Again, as I said before, coaching ticks all the boxes.
Okay, good. So yeah, everybody, needs a DevOps coach when they're doing their digital transformation. So we've covered quite a lot about culture in coaching and revenue streams, and sort of we've got a sort of few questions to cover here. Carl Merriwater, he has asked about related to the transformation, basically. Marion, have you seen any evidence that the global pandemic is sparking a wave of transformation?
Well, yes, that's the short and definitive answer. So digital transformation didn't start with COVID, right? But this greatly accelerated. So I remember, and at my previous employer, when we were looking at the workplace solutions, they were key for and they are key for the employees to be able to perform their work. From one day to the other, we deployed thousands and thousands of accounts, devices, laptops. So there was a huge accelerations in just over 3 months, right? So a lot of barriers were removed. So this happens, and also the same in my current position, and now with Silverstorm, we see a high demand, especially on topics like user experience, on topics like maturity assessment for transformation roadmaps, which means the companies are preparing to kick off their digital transformation. And also more and more understanding that what I repeat again, technology is not a differentiator. So they reach out to us and say, well, look, we have everything, not to mention specific brands, but we have the whole portfolio of technologies. And something's missing. Could you help us? What's going on? Like, can you tell us? Can you guide us? Can you direct us? And I've had the pleasure to participate in quite a few good approaches and digital transformations over the last year and a half at Silverstorm. So happy to share these in another call or at another opportunity.
Great. So yeah, plenty of case studies.
Exactly.
You know, another question from Paula, you know, related to upskilling. What are the most common mistakes companies make when they're starting an upskill process, and any tips to overcome it? Helen or Marion?
Yeah, I'm happy to. Marion, just interrupt me.
Go forward. Sure.
Look, in general, organisations are struggling to keep up with change, and as they adapt, the demand for new skills require it. And you know, to follow up on what Marion was just saying, the pandemic has sort of accelerated this somewhat. So some of the common mistakes when doing this is like, you know, leaving it too late to start. That's a very common one. And important for organisations to really take a look well and truly beforehand, because how long does it take to get your staff up to scratch and to meet those strategic goals in the next 5 years plus? The other mistake, or bottlenecks mistakes, I don't want to say learning curves, let's say learning curves, that's a nicer word. If people assuming, or organisations assuming one size fits all. You can't work. Every employee holds a different level of skill mastery or knowledge. Additionally, not everyone in the DevOps team need to possess the same level of skills. You know, if we look at the competency frameworks. So determine who needs what type of training to create a more efficient team, and really focusing on the team and less, I don't want to say less on the individual, but the team outcome. Another mistake is not assessing actual upskilling and reskilling needs. You know, really determine what's needed, what's going to deliver the ROI for your organisation. Not offering continuous education opportunities, you know, upskilling, reskilling, next skilling, whatever you want to call it, or whatever your priorities are. It's not a one-off training. So continual ongoing support and knowledge reinforcements is needed to ensure the employee can maintain the skills needed, the new skills. So a continuous learning environment can help with that. You know, short, bite-sized learning modules delivered during the workday can naturally blend into a daily workload. And ensuring you keep a record of skills to help with strategic planning and projects and commitments. Who's got what skill? What opportunities can you offer new team members or old team members? Which comes to satisfaction of the team as well.
Okay, great. So it's about, you know, keeping your people, investing in your people, investing in your culture, and maintaining your talent, you know, which is always the challenge.
And
so,
far
you know,
more effective than new looking for new staff. You know, retention, upskilling, and training your staff, existing staff, is far more cost effective than acquisition.
Exactly. So it's investing in your people. And just we've got literally 5 minutes. So one more quick question. You know, Marion, what are the most common mistakes companies make when they start the transformation process? Just in a nutshell, you know, and any tips to overcome it?
Absolutely. Well, what I've seen is that sometimes companies start somewhere, somehow, a transformation process. So they don't assess their initial point of departure. And I think there a maturity assessment helps. An initial, what we call a digital readiness assessment is helping you assessing the initial point. I think I've mentioned another one, assuming that people will just love, and use the technology on a daily basis. So that's not happening. That's a spoiler. You need to pick up the people. You need to think of organizational change management. And maybe the third point here is to ensure, or actually to put it away the other way around, a mistake. Strategic objectives figured out in the ivory tower, not being translated into day-to-day operational practices. So translating the transformation strategic objectives into operational practices, which would lead eventually to operational excellence and will make the objectives happen.
Okay, good. So you need to have your practical guide on the hand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bridging the gap, as we say at Silverstorm.
Bridging the gap. I like that. Well, thank you both very much for a lot of information in this webinar on how to, you know, focus on building revenue streams during digital transformation with the help of coaching. Lots of information to digest. This has been recorded, so people can watch it after the stream if they weren't able to join live. We do have one slide. Helen, do you want to quickly share the resources? We've got a little bit of time. Here we go. Oh, you're on mute, Helen.
Sorry. So you know, some of the resources we just flagged today, and some of there's some tools on the DASA website you may want to refer to. We touched on that very briefly, but the DASA competence model, the DASA quick scan, the DASA principles, and there's a whole heap of videos, white papers, podcasts, recordings, a whole heap of stuff and resources on the website. Feel free to go on and have a look. And thank you very much, Joey, DevOpsAgileSkills.org. And of course, we talked about some of the fundamentals of DevOps, the coaching and leadership aspects. So you can see here, we do some of the courses. If you are interested, pop on. If you go to the next slide, Katrina.
Okay. Next slide. There isn't a previous slide.
No, next one.
We don't have a next one, no.
Oh, okay. So let's say hypothetically there was a next slide. It would have the contact detail at info@DevOpsAgileSkills.org. And then just send in an email. Happy to help with any questions you may have, or learning@DevOpsAgileSkills.org.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both, Marion and Helen, for participating in today's webinar. And it's great to have everybody here listening in, tuning in and asking questions, you know, which have been very relevant to today's topic. And do join us next month when we'll be focused on talent, and we will be, follow DevOps Agile Skills for more information, where we'll be posting the event coming up. So thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your afternoon.
Thanks, Katrina. Thank
you. It was a pleasure.
Thanks, Marion.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.